Hey everybody, and welcome back to Mel's Board Game Room. So today I am doing the top 9 games of all the games I played during the month of December. So I'm going to show the stats just to show you how much gaming happened in December. It was probably my heaviest month for gaming, and I had 92 plays of 54 different games. So I had some gatherings here where we played a lot of games. We've had some gatherings at friends where I went to for like a game day, and then we played a lot of games. And then my friend Michael had for a challenge to play 1,000 games, and he was 25 games away. So he asked, he's like, "Can I come over?" And he came over, and we played 25 games. So it was great for my stats as well because then I ended up reaching 600 plays for the year. But yeah, so 92 plays, 54 different games. I played at 3 different locations. 4% of my own base collection got played, so that was pretty good. Um, but yeah, let's get started with our top 9 and see which one made the 9 like the best of the best for all the games that was played. So in number 9 position, I have Dice Throne. I have season 2 here, and I put like we actually ended up playing. It was our New Year's Eve party, and this was the last game of the evening. We're 6 players, and we did a 6-player Dice Throne game. So season 1 characters was in play, season 2 characters was in play, and both Krampus and Santa were in play. So it was an odd combination. But it was so good because a lot of people that were attending had not played Dice Throne before, so it was a good one to introduce. I think every time I introduce somebody to Dice Throne, it always goes really well. So I was playing as the Cursed Pirate. Um, and if you haven't played Dice Throne before, it's a Yahtzee battle, like a Yahtzee style battle game. So you have a character, the goal is to be the last one standing, and you're going to roll your dice. You can roll up to 3 times to get either icon combination or number combination that will activate one of your attack, and then you would attack one of the other characters. So as the Cursed Pirate, the interesting thing with her is she doesn't have upgrade cards because you have cards where you can make some of your attacks more powerful. She doesn't have those. Instead, what will happen is if she ever runs out of doubloons, you would flip her over and she becomes the Cursed Pirate, and she's like a skull. And her attacks are more powerful on that side, but every round her health goes down 4 points. And this was really neat because we ended up final round, I'm down to 4 health and I just become cursed. So as soon as my turn comes back, I'm losing the game. And the ninja, I think, had like 3 or 4 health, and then we had, I think it was the artificer that he was playing. And was it? I can't remember, but he had down to 2 health, and I was like, okay, the only way I can win now is for her to retaliate and kill you. And that's exactly what happened. So they ended up killing each other, and I won because my turn hadn't come back around. But it was so much fun. It was well received. It was a great game, and that's the number 9. So in number 8 position, we have Duel. Now, Duel is a game that was published in like in 1976, I believe, and I had never come across this game. When Michael came over, he brought this over, and just component-wise, this game is amazing, and I want it now. And it's probably out of print and impossible to find, so keep an eye out for me. Oh, I've said 76. It's right on the screen. It was published in 1975. But take a look at this. So it's a bit like a chess game, and you have all these big, ginormous, chunky dice on your end. And what happened is when you're going to take your turn, if it's a 6, then the 6 can move up to 6 spaces, but it would like flip as it goes. And then whatever is on top when it's done flipping is what your new movement would be with that one. But as you move, you can do one direction change, only one. So you could go like 3 this way and then 3 this way. And the goal is to capture the one of the other player or to capture that location. It is Such a neat game. I really, really enjoyed it. And then if you land on top of another player's piece, then you capture that piece. So it has a very strong chess-like quality to it. But just the components, I absolutely adore the look of this game. So I really want it now. It's a two-player only game. It's just like an abstract strategy game, but it was so satisfying. Then in number 7 position, I have World Wonders. We had a game day in Didsbury. My friend works in a cafe and they're closed on Sunday, so we actually went there on the Sunday to play some game. And this was one of the ones that ended up being played. And I had heard about this. Carla, actually, my podcast co-host, talks about this one quite a bit. And I finally got to try it, and it was good. So it's a polyomino game. You're adding these tiles, but you need to have roads that connect to the edge, or you can't add the tiles unless they're the same color of what it's touching. Then it kind of creates a cluster, and then that's okay. And then if you meet certain requirements, you can put some wonders, and those are like 3D wooden pieces that you add on the board. And that'll score you points, and the way that everything is added will score you points, and you're trying to, I forget, like you're collecting resources as you go as well. I really enjoyed this game. It was so interesting. And it made my number 7. Now I don't own it yet. If I come across it, I might add it to my collection, but like I said, Carla owns it, so I can play it with her. And I don't know that this would be one that my family would play a whole lot, so I might be okay with just Carla owning it. Then in number 6 position is another game that I don't own, and I ended up playing in Red Deer when Carla hosted a game day, and that is Bonsai. So that was my second time playing it. Now this game is just so satisfying to play. It's so cutesy. You're building a bonsai tree, and there's a certain rules you got to follow, but you can collect different tiles on your turn. So you get your wood tile that'll kind of build your trunk, and then you get your leaf tiles that'll add you like the leaf bunches on your tree. Then you can add fruits, or you can add flowers. Now the flowers will score for every empty spaces around it, so you're trying to make them so that there's nothing nearby. They just stick out. The fruit has to touch 2 different leaves, and it can't touch another fruit, and that's how they'll score. And you're collecting tools on the one side that gives you a bigger ability of what you can hold tile-wise on your board, and on the other side you're collecting different card that gives you the ability of placing those tiles on your turn, because you can collect them, but you need to, if you do the, I can't remember if it's the rest or the growth action, then you can add those tiles, but you can only add what you have the ability to add. So the base card allows you to add a trunk, a leaf, and a fruit, or one other tile, so that's good. But if you want to put multiple, because you've collected multiple, then you need to build that ability up. But it looks super cute. It's such a great puzzly little game, and it's a lot of fun, and that's my number 6, Bonsai. Then in number 5 position is a brand new game that we purchased, but it's not a new game. In fact, this game was published in the year 700. It's been around for a really long time, but I had never played it, and that's Mancala. So I have played a lot of game that says, oh, it has a Mancala mechanism to it. And so I understand that with Mancala is you grab pieces and you leave one everywhere you go, but I didn't know how it played. So Lee ended up grabbing this for me over the holidays, and we played it so much that it was number 2 most played game. And the only reason it's not number 1, it's when Michael came over, we played one game more, so, or it would have been number 1. But we've played this one so much. It was so well received, especially by my son, Patrick. He absolutely loved it. So you have 6 baskets on either side of the board, and then at each end you have the Mancala basket. And you're going to start with 4 little beads in each one. They're kind of like flat marbles, the container. Now there's different colors, but the colors doesn't make any difference. So you're going to have 4 in each one, and what's going to happen is you can grab all of the beads in one of the basket and counterclockwise leave one in each one. Now, the goal is to try to collect the most in your Mancala basket. And if you end your turn in your Mancala basket at the end of the board, you get to go again. So you would take another turn. Now, if you end up stopping in one of the basket and it was empty, there's nothing there, and that's where you end, then you can collect that bead and all the beads on the other side, the other player's side as well. So that's a great way to capture more beads. So you want to try to make sure that the other player doesn't get empty baskets, mostly if you have beads there, or if they do, then you're going to want to move those beads so they can't be captured. So it's very strategic, very simple game to play, but oh so satisfying. As I said, we've played it at least a dozen times. Oh, in the week or two before during Christmas season. So it was so well received. We had a blast with it. This is a game that has great staying power, obviously, since it was published in the year 700 and it's still so readily available. Then in number 4 position is another game that I played in Red Deer for the game day that I attended, and that was Middle Ages, and I was pleased and surprised with this. It has a bit of a what am I gonna say? I don't know, like it does remind me of other games, but what's going to happen is you're going to be drafting these tiles, and then when you take a tile, you add it to your board. And if it's a tile you've already had, it kind of adds up to it. Then you get to activate everything in that row. So you would activate each tile and do the bottom action. So that's great. But then sometimes they'll do like an attack tile that takes some of your tiles away. And then some will activate for every villagers you have in your tableau, or it's another icon, treasures, like little treasures, and you'll collect for that. And then it was just so very satisfying. But you get negative points if you don't have every type of buildings in, and I didn't realize that at the beginning of the game, so I was trying to, so I didn't get all the type of buildings. But it was so interesting, like selecting your next tile, and then it creates the player order for the next round. So like the better tiles are going to be towards the end, so you're going to be later player, but that's kind of tend to be a more powerful tile. The game looks so neat. And then you'll see in the picture here, I actually got for Christmas a set of Pirates Gold poker chips, but they're all metal coin, and it's like a whole poker set. So we played it with those coins. It was so neat. These are amazing. It just kind of accentuates the gameplay, in my opinion. But yeah, Middle Ages was a lot of fun. I hope to get to play that one again, and that was my number 4. So in number 3 position, I have a new game. You know what? I was watching some top 10 party game list. I think it was Actual that was doing it. And he brought this one up, and I had seen it on Amazon, and I had an Amazon gift card. So I was like, okay, well, let's get it and see how it is. And that is Hitster. So my family is a big fan of Timeline. We will play Timeline from time to time, and you have all these different events, and you have to try to fit them in chronological order. This is the exact same, but with music, with songs. And it works with Spotify. So you need to kind of download an app, and you're going to scan the back of the card. There's a QR code on it, and it's going to play 20 seconds of a song. So it doesn't give you any information. Well, it does. So whoever's the DJ will see what the song is. So you take turn doing DJs to play the song for all the other players. So it's going to play a song 20 seconds, and then you're going to try to figure out, if you can, what the song is. Now, if you're able to guess the title and the artist, you get a token, which is great. Tokens will give you abilities to be able to swap out the song you got if you didn't like it. Or you can, if you think the other player is putting their song in the wrong spot, you can put a token, say, I think it's over here. Or if you get 3 tokens, you can spend 3 tokens to just add a card to your tile. But you're going to listen to the song and be like, okay, well, that sounds old. I think I was in high school when this came out or whatever. So then you're going to fit it somewhere in the timeline. Then you're going to flip it over. And if you're correct, that gets to stay. Otherwise, it's discarded. And it's the first one to get 10 cards in their timeline that wins the game. We've played this. I've played it with my stepson. and just my family. I've played it at a game day that we had between Christmas and New Year's. We've played it at New Year's. This game has been so well received. Everybody loves it. So I'm so glad that I got the game. It's so much fun. It doesn't matter how gamey you are or not. Everybody listens to music, and even if you don't big like into music, you've listened to them as well anyway, so you have a sense of like, oh geez, that thing, that's kind of old, and any generation as well, so we're playing all across all different generation. It was a blast. It was so good. Almost everybody who played it said, okay, I need to go and buy it, and then got their own copy as well. Great fun. And that's Hitster, my number 3. Then in number 2 position is a game that I hadn't played in a long time, and I was like, hey, I really want to play this again. So we set it up, and we played Architects of the West Kingdom. And this game is just so good. So it's a worker placement, and it's kind of unique in a way. Like every time you place one worker, and the location you go, you get to activate that. Then when your turn comes around again, you're going to place a second worker. And if you place it in the same location as your previous worker, or if there's some other ones, like you have other workers there, the more workers you have in a location, the more you can activate there. So if you're going to like the forest and you get a wood for your first worker, then you send a second worker. Now because you got 2 workers, you get 2 woods, and if you send a third worker, you'll get 3 woods, and so on. And you're collecting resources like this, and then at some point you can go to the town hall and you can capture workers, and be like, okay, well, if Blue Players has a lot of workers there, they're at 4 now, so I'm going to capture them, and you put them on your own player board, and then they're captured, and eventually you can go and put them in jail, and you get money for sending them to jail. And once they're in jail, the other worker can go and collects them again. Now they can collect them from your board, but it's going to cost money to get them out there. And then you can acquire people that have different skills that you would need to be able to build certain buildings, and you can build those buildings that'll give you different abilities. But then you can also build the cathedral, and the more you contribute to the cathedral, the higher you go, and then the more point it's going to be worth. And depending on what you do in the game, if you go to the black market, that's going to give you infamy, and then you're going to lose on that track a little bit. But then if you get a lot of infamy, you start paying less taxes because you're skipping out on taxes. So there's benefit there. But if you go too low, it's going to give you negative point. But if you go back into a positive situation in that one, then you're going to get points. And building the cathedral allows you to be able to go up on that track as well. There's so much going on with it, but it's actually a pretty straightforward game, and it's really satisfying to play. The artwork is just so interesting. And we had a blast with it. Now I have the whole West Kingdom series. I've only played Paladin once, and I have never played Viscount, so I want to get those ones played as well, and hopefully soon. But that Architects of the West Kingdom was my number 2 for the month of December. And then in number 1 position is a game that I had recently acquired. It's been around for a little while. Came out this year, well, 2024. And I had heard lots of good things, and I was like, yeah, but is it really that good? It is. And we played it, and it was so good, and that's Harmonies. And I've played it a few times over the holidays because it plays in 30 to 45 minutes. So it's a fairly quick, easy game to get to the table. And it has such good table presence. It looks great. You have these big chunky bits, and it's a little bit like Azul meets Cascadia. So on your turn, you're going to collect 3 like the big wooden tokens there that you're going to add to your board. That happens every time. There's no getting around that. Then you have the choice, if you want, to take an animal card and add it to your board so you can try to complete these animals. And depending on the card, they'll have different space available, and you're going to put a little kind of orange bead or cube on that. And those are the animals you can attract to your board. But they have very specific patterns that needs to happen in order to be able to place them on your board. So when you kind of meet that pattern, then you can take that cube and put it on the tile that it says. Now, each of the tiles you're adding will score a different way. You get the rivers that'll score. The trees will score depending on how high they are. The mountains as well, depending on how high they are, they'll score, but they have to be all linked together. Like, you got to create mountain range. The fields will score per field as long as you got a cluster of 2 or more, but they score 5 points per cluster. So you don't want to do one big cluster. You're trying to break them up into a bunch of little different fields to get more points. And then you have the city that will score if you have 2 tile high for your city, and it scores if you have a bunch of different terrains around it. So that will all score, plus your animal will score. It is just such a neat, fun, puzzly game, and it looks so good, and we had such a great time with it that this made it to be our number 1 for the month of December. I've played this multiple times with multiple people, and it was great every time. So this is a recap of all the games that made it into the top 9. It's quite an eclectic group here. And here's all the games that I ended up playing throughout the month of December. A lot of them were kind of quicker games for party situation because we had a lot of like game nights and New Year's Eve party and then Christmas parties and stuff. But we played lots and we had a lot of good times, and it was great. So be sure to follow us on Facebook. My Facebook page is Mel's Board Game Room. I'm also on Instagram at Mel's_boardgame_room. I have the podcast that I do with my friend Carla called The Board Game Specialist. Actually, I'm going to be posting our next episode just this coming Monday. So be sure to tune in for that one. And of course, my YouTube channel is Mel's Board Game Room. So thanks so much for tuning in. Bye, everybody.